Hello there, welcome back to another Cloud with Chris weekly vlog. You're with me, Chris Reddington, and here we talk about all things cloud. Now, thank you folks for joining. We have got one of these fun ones today. We are doing a gaming stream. We're going to be playing Among Us, we're going to be finding the imposter, and we're going to be talking cloud as well. We learned our lessons from last time. We'll be talking all about tech and things in the voice chat. We'll be talking all about the game in the in-game chat, so we can keep it all flowing nicely and all going well. So, with that, there's not much more to introduce apart from the folks who are going to be in the stream as well. So let's go ahead, unmute everyone, and we'll kick things off here. So let me jump across to my game stream view as well. There we go. And we have everyone. Hey Dean, hey John, hey Matt, hey Simon. How are we all? Good. I'm going to start us off. I have not changed the settings whatsoever, so we'll see how this goes. We've got a bit of a smaller group this time, so we'll need to play around with the settings a bit. But I was in tech chat and everything else over voice. So let's just go down the list of who we've got. So Dean, do you want to intro? Oh, and you get killed along the way. That's a shame. But anyway, John, you're next, sir. Excellent. Matt. Awesome. And last but no least, Simon. Congratulations. Yeah, we've been teasing that one for a while, right? So it's now done. That's good. Well, congratulations first and foremost, of course. Of course. And yeah, I'm sure that'll be something we can talk about as we go through this session this evening. Cool. But good. And I guess for anyone else listening in, you can see we've got a few slots available. So if you do want to join us, drop any of us a message if you're connected with any of us, and we can give you the code for the room as well, and you can jump in. And we can get you in the Discord as well. So yeah, I guess I've deliberately hidden from the stream the codes just in case we have a bit of control around things. We don't want random people jumping on and who knows what's happening, right? We'll have some level of control of what's going on. So I guess for today, the things that I was thinking of doing for the session is doing a little bit like we do with the normal weekly vlogs, or that I normally do, I suppose, with the weekly vlogs. Talking about Azure Blogs, what's gone on, what's recently been announced, etc., and the Azure Updates, Azure DevOps, GitHub, etc. Talk about the things that I've done with Cloud with Chris, and then obviously what everyone else is doing as well. We can do some shout outs, and we'll go from there, I guess. So I'll jump over to the Azure Blogs, because of course I've died, so I can focus on this stuff for a moment. In terms of stuff that's gone on this week, two main blog posts were around Spring Boot applications, actually. Spring Cloud Enterprise is now, I think, available in preview, if I read that right. And we've got monitoring Spring Boot applications end-to-end using Dynatrace. So, don't know if we have any Java devs on the call at all. Yeah, same for me, actually. It's been quite a while since I've looked at Java. I don't think I ever used Spring, though. Hmm. Nice. It is, isn't it? I'm also stuffing my face at the same time, which is not ideal timing. Um, but what I was going to say was actually we had one of my ex-colleagues, Gitter, on the channel not so long ago, to be fair, actually, talking about Azure Spring Cloud. And I was blown away, actually, by how simple it is as a service and how powerful it is if you use these types of Spring applications to go and deploy. It's got some nice integrations, etc. I was really impressed. So, yeah, I guess if anyone is using Spring, take a look at Spring Enterprise, I guess. Hmm. Ah. Oh. How bizarre. That means not good things. I've been chatting with myself for a long time here. Let me just work on this. That is interesting because do you guys just want to chat for a bit so I can do some sound checks here? How bizarre. Hmm. Well, hold on. I'm not hearing you guys yet, so let me or on the stream mix anyway. Bear with me. Just gonna go and try and fix something. Right, chat should be going through. Okay. Let's just check where your sound is all coming through. Yeah, indeed. Which is bizarre because everything looks to be configured as it should be. Give me another sound check, guys. Right, I am gonna just close down OBS a sec, guys. So folks listening on the stream, just bear with me one sec. Service will be resumed momentarily, hopefully, with more voices. Just so everyone can hear, but we have not fixed those issues yet, to be clear, for anyone who is listening. Right, let's see then. Okay. I'm going to bring it all over here so you can all see it on my screen and we can all, as someone suggested, figure it out together. Oh, hold on, I heard an echo there. Try that again. Oh, no, that was, see, no, that was good. I thought we had it then, but we apparently don't. Right, let me bring this over. 1, 2. So the bizarre thing, right, is for anyone listening, if there anyone who's actually watching the stream right now. Oh, hold on. That's interesting. Bear with. Let's see. Oh, that should be fine. Let's try it that way around, maybe. Okay, 1, 2. And if someone does a speak.
Hello.
There we go. I think we've got it. Yeah. Hopefully. It looks like.
I dropped out of the game, so I just dropped back in.
How bizarre. It seems that even though this is how I've had my OBS settings configured, every single time I've done live streams with guests, something randomly decided to change. So, all fun. But hopefully people on the stream can now hear everybody if we want to have a bit of a chat again, guys.
That's working.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chips, for letting us know. Apologies for folks for listening to me have a very one-sided discussion. I'm sure it's been very entertaining. Maybe let's kind of re-kick things off, I suppose, and we'll start with some intros again. We are missing from this game John, I think?
No, I'm here.
Simon. There we go. There we go. Right, let me kick us off, and then we'll at least not lose the room. Perfect. So let's try this again. Good evening, everyone. Shall we go in order of the list of introductions? And Dean, you can now be prepared this time.
Funnily enough, I was actually prepared that time. So I'm Dean Ellaby. I am a workspace technical architect at CDW, recently moved from BT. And I also co-organise the cloud management user group. It is quite hard to run away from people while holding the V button and introducing yourself. So I'll pass on to someone else.
Excellent. What an excellent introduction. John.
Hi, yeah, I'm John Kilmister, and I'm a principal software architect at PureGen, and been working in Azure about 5 or 6 years now, and blog and various other bits and pieces.
Excellent. Thanks, John. And guys, just so you don't forget, we've got the in-game chat as well. It's on the top of the screen there, that white kind of chat icon. Good. Matt.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Matt Patunka. I'm a cloud solution architect at Microsoft, focusing on app dev stuff. I'm also co-organizer of the Welsh Azure user group.
Did we lose you, Matt, or was that a very abrupt finish?
I think that was a very abrupt finish.
There we go.
I thought I was
I was like, okay, cool. I mean, with the audio issues so far, I wasn't quite sure. I was like, oh, okay. And last by no means least, Simon.
I am Simon Lee. I am now a cloud. I'll start that again.
You're a cloud. Wow.
I'm a cloud, and I can't multitask. I'm now an Azure support engineer working for Intercept. It has been a long time coming, but I can now officially say I've done my first 3 days. It's been brilliant fun, and yeah, I'm looking forward to getting stuck into some projects.
Excellent. No, and again, just for purposes of streaming and everyone hearing discussion properly, because we've had some issues here. Congratulations, something been teased for a little while, I think, on previous streams, etc. But yeah, very pleased. I know that's been something you've been working on with the exams, etc. So
yep.
Big congratulations.
Cheers, thank you.
And I think that's twice in a row that you've been an imposter now. Wow. Okay, noted. So before we jump into Azure news and updates again, and we can have that discussion again with actual people rather than one-sided Chris discussion and no guest audio. If you want to join us, give any of us a shout, whether you've got us on Twitter or Carrier Pigeon, however you're connected with us at all. We can drop you the codes to the room, and we can get you into the Discord as well and come and join us. As you can see, we got a bit of a smaller group than last time, which is all good. Hopefully we'll have some good fruitful discussion today as well, and keep some good momentum going. I think we learned from last time some of the tricks to keep it all going. Cool. So we have got Dean, Simon, John, and we're missing a Matt. Are you all good there, Matt? There we go.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, yeah, I pressed the button.
All good. Oh, and I've just noted we're all wearing party hats. There we go.
P-hats.
Yeah,
I thought that was the uniform. I thought we had to have.
it is. It is
Yeah.
indeed. From the last stream. So yeah, I guess in terms of Azure Blogs, if anyone's listened to the stream, you'll have heard this already, but we have got a couple of updates on the Azure blog this week. One was to do with, well, they're both to do with Azure Spring Cloud. One is to do with Azure Spring Cloud Enterprise. The other is to do with, I think it was Dynatrace, if I remember rightly, monitoring with Azure Spring Cloud. And I think we were having a bit of a chat on whether anyone has done any Java work in the group. And the answer was not in a long time, I think.
No, it's a number of years since I've used it. I did sort of have to pick up a project in it. It's been 4 or 5 years ago, and quite a different ecosystem in some ways than .NET. But it is good to see, I think, that Azure is kind of catering for a lot more technologies and a lot more languages, and you can kind of, I've noticed that with like Azure Functions, you know, being able to write them in Python and JavaScript, not just .NET. Is yeah.
Yeah, no, agreed. There's
and I think the push for Java across the board in cloud in general is much needed. I think it's been a little bit kind of neglected for a while.
Yeah, agree, and I think you can really see it though across the board how it's all kind of come together. As you say, I think Matt earlier when we were talking, and well, we were talking, not everyone else could hear us, was you've been doing some work a while ago with Java apps on App Service as well.
Yeah, and it's come a long way from where it was. I think it was always, particularly with things like the docs as well. You know, the docs were always kind of second or third class citizens for Java, and I think they've come a long way recently. Yeah,
I agree, and I think that's definitely one of the nice things from a dev perspective is we all know, right? There's more languages than just C# and the wider .NET ecosystem, and seeing that love, as John, I think you were saying a moment ago, the love for like Python and Node and all these other frameworks and languages is awesome to see. So it's good. It's good.
I know there's no game talk there, but Chris, did you just wipe us all out?
I did, yeah. In less than one round, yeah. Yeah. I'm just playing with the settings here. Right, I'm going to increase the player speed slightly. I'm going to give crewmates a larger vision. Imposter only ever so slightly larger vision. Kill distance is definitely short. Visual tasks. We'll put visual tasks on. We'll make it a bit easier because of a smaller group. Taskbar updates always. Common tasks 1, long task 1, short tasks 4. Cool. Let's see how that goes with some settings. Yeah, and I think the other subtle thing as well about those announcements actually is the integration of Dynatrace with Spring Cloud as well. You know, seeing that wider ecosystem integration is really nice to see as well. Because again, may have some dependencies elsewhere, right? Which is very normal in software development projects. So to see that integration is always good there as well. Good. And that was it on Azure Blogs actually this week. It was quite a quiet week for Azure Blogs. Azure Updates, on the other hand, not so quiet. Oh. Yeah, not so quiet on the Azure Updates this week. I'll rattle through a few of them actually as we go through. If I try and remember how long a week ago was. Wow, there really were a ton. Okay, we've got 2 pages of updates to kind of go through. Let me see then. This is going to be really hard for me to multitask, watch the chat and and talk. But there have been things like new batch capabilities, Azure Batch. There have been new express route peering locations. Disaster recovery for VMware machines has been simplified with ASR. Azure Security Center's got some preview updates and GA updates. Lots and lots of deprecation notices. So to that point around the different languages in Azure Functions, go. Sorry, I'm trying to chat and and go at the same time. Yeah, many deprecation notices. So Node 6 support is ending in Azure Functions on the 28th of Feb 2022. Recommendation is to go to Node 14. PowerShell 6 support is going on the 30th September 2022. Recommendation is to go to PowerShell 7. Node 10 support is going in Azure Functions 30th September 2022. So Node 14 again there. Azure AD Graph is retiring. So 30th of June 2022. Recommendation is to go to Microsoft Graph. There are announcements around Azure VMware Solution and run commands being in public preview. Lots of Postgres stuff. Azure Monitor now supports availability zones for dedicated clusters in a couple of regions as well. What else? Customer managed keys for disk encryption. That is the automatic key rotation, I should say, of customer managed keys for encrypting Azure disks is there as well. What else have we got? Changing performance tiers for Azure Premium SSDs with no downtime. App config, standard tier limits have increased. The Dynatrace stuff we mentioned with Spring Cloud earlier. Load balancing of IBM WebSphere on Azure VMs. Azure Spring Cloud Enterprise. AKS policy support, the fact you can now author custom policies, policy compliance for AKS policies, Azure API management policies, Azure DevOps updates, Azure root servers GA, private link NSG support and UDR support is a big one. Azure App Service Availability Zone support is in GA as well. So it's been a really, really busy couple of weeks and lots and lots of announcements. So I know I've rattled through things there, folks, but what do you think? Stunned silence.
Well, I think that all these version updates are really good, but I guess as they spread out across more languages, we're going to get more and more kind of updates of all the languages.
Yeah,
but I think it's a really good thing because it does kind of push out all of the insecure versions or you know, and make sure that we kind of keep up to date. And they give you plenty of notice. So
yeah, indeed. I think that's the thing, isn't it? Is trying to keep everyone up to date on the latest and greatest in a way that keeps everyone moving along nicely and
always seems to come as a surprise to people.
It does, doesn't it? It does. There are some great tools out there, though.
In some ways, it reinforces that whole constant upgrade cycle. You've got to keep all those things moving. You've got to keep on top of. I mean, if you look at things like NPM, NuGet packages, you know, you've got to bake that into your cycle now to make sure you're always bringing in the latest, and it's painful every time you do it.
Yeah, and especially if you miss a few. So if like the announcement goes out, oh, you've got to update, and you realise you're like 3 versions behind, you've got this mammoth job. You've just got to keep on top of it, really. And as you say, bake it into your processes.
I
guess things like the Panda Bot.
I think we're just waiting on you there, Matt.
Oh, here we go.
There we go. Sorry, John.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Matt.
I was just saying, at least there are tools like the Panda Bot in GitHub to help you kind of move these things forward.
Big fan of the Panda Bot.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Yeah, they're rewriting it at the moment, aren't they, into their own, because they purchased the Panda Bot and then they're kind of rewriting it, I think.
Oh, are they rewriting it? So I know it's been, you know, very well integrated into GitHub because I use it on Cloud with Chris and some other projects that I've got going as well. And it works really well there. Really well. Someone may want to go, if you have speakers, we can hear you doing tasks, which may give the game away slightly. Yeah, lots of deprecation notices, but as you say, I think that's only a good thing to keep people moving forward. The notice is there, so I think it's all fair game. Other things that stood out: app service having availability zone support. The multi-tenant version, that is a big one. I tweeted about that one a couple of weeks ago now, actually, but it's just come out on the Azure Updates page. I spotted it on the app service team's blog a couple of weeks ago. So that's another biggie. And private link support, or rather private link supporting NSGs and UDRs as well.
Yeah, that's quite a big one.
I've seen that in a lot of feedback, actually, that one.
Because it was always a bit of a gotcha that it didn't support it before.
That's the thing, isn't it? You had almost this choice of either having that private connectivity or the granular control of what you want to allow and not allow, right, traffic-wise. So now you can have both. Still in preview, of course, so there's no SLA for those just yet, but the fact that it's there in preview is a big, big step. Good to see. Any updates that stood out for folks at all? Whether that's Azure or other things that have kind of been going on across the various clouds that we all work with from a Microsoft perspective, Intune, and I know we've got Microsoft 365 and Windows 365 as well, Dynamics.
Oh, I forgot I didn't have push to talk on anymore.
There you go.
Yeah, there has been a fairly big update in Intune. They've released, I think it was over 3,000 additional settings you can put out to manage endpoints, which is like ridiculous. I've only seen the headline though, so it could just be clickbait.
I have seen the same headline, but I'll be honest, my background is not in that space, so I don't know enough to tell.
Yeah, I've got no excuse.
Jeez, Dean,
The other
come
thing-
on. Update us.
The other thing that was mentioned was the Docker desktop, which I think it made a lot of sense, but it kind of also reflects on a lot of companies trying to monetize their kind of what they give away for free, effectively.
So is everyone aware of that change? Just in fact, we should probably call it out just in case anyone is listening and doesn't know. Do you want to go ahead and explain, John, a little bit?
Yeah, so the my understanding of it, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the desktop software that you use to run your Docker images is now they've renamed the pricing tiers, and the lowest pricing tier is still free for community, personal use, and I think companies up to a certain size. But if your company is slightly larger, then there's a fee for using Docker desktop.
Yep, exactly.
That's the short of it, really.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think you're right. You know, it's I think one of those things that long time coming, I suspect. But yeah, when it happens, then it's interesting to see the reactions from people, right? But effectively, to continue using Docker Desktop, if you use it from a company perspective, it's now going to be a subscription model type thing to use. So it'll be interesting to see what impact that has on adoption of things like Docker and usage, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's good that like the larger companies, in a work environment, pay for it, and then that supports the smaller companies and the sort of community additions that can still be free.
Yeah, for sure. Because let's face it, right? You know, Docker. Well, I mean, not Docker specifically, but containerization more broadly, I suppose, isn't going to be going anywhere. It's certainly been gaining tons of traction, right? And it's only going to continue doing so. So I think it's a sensible move. It's just interesting to see what reaction will come of that, because I think the change has actually taken effect, but there's a grace period, I think, of 6 months, if I read the update correctly. So it gives people time to go and react to that change from an organizational perspective. Because it wasn't just size of organization, it was also to do with revenue, if I remember rightly, as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Specifically, but I did see a good thread with someone saying, what's the deal? Help us understand a little bit of the boundaries and how this works, etc., and what grace periods there are, etc. And I think the response that came from whoever was effectively, oh, we're gonna do this on not best effort. What's the word I'm looking for? Good intentions. They're gonna kind of trace it based on that perspective. But the response back was obviously, well, I want to make sure I'm doing the right thing by usage policies, etc. So I suspect there's still some more clarity to come in and be had. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of that, I think. Yeah, that's a great shout. Great shout there, John. Trying to think if anything else big has happened in the wider industry this week, actually. Nothing springs to mind. So, I'm curious, just while we're kind of on the topic of Docker Desktop, how many of us here actually have Docker running on our local machines in some form?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 3 out of 5, is that?
No, I don't. I did at one point, but I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did at one point for playing around with some stuff, but not at the moment.
Gotcha. 3 out of 5.
I mean, you could tell the writing was coming on this one when they started doing the automatic updates or the non-opt-outable updates.
Mm.
Unless you pay for it, which was a little strange.
Yeah, exactly. It's the bedrock, isn't it, for that? And where I was going with that question, actually, I'm just curious, how many use the functionality to integrate with WSL?
Oh, definitely. It's my go-to choice for doing that kind of development now.
How about you, John?
Sorry, distracted.
Oh, dear.
Distracted trying to find the task. Yeah. Sorry, what was the question?
Docker
yes.
integration
Sorry.
with WSL. That was it.
Yeah.
No wonder you were distracted, by the way.
So I was, I have no words. Well played.
Well, to be honest, I didn't realise I was the imposter at the beginning.
Whatever.
I had a feeling someone might not when the bar was like 80% full and no one had been killed. I saw everyone run past me and I was like, okay. Oh no, sorry, I was on security. I was on security and saw everyone running. I was like, okay.
Although it wasn't a bad tactic in the end. But to answer your question, so yeah, I used because we have everything on app services, containerizing our software. Like, there's less of an incentive to do that, because if you're on if you're on thin or virtual machines, going to Docker makes a lot of sense. You can containerize those. But with app services, a lot of the stuff's already done for you. So the move to Docker or containerization just generally is kind of less of a pull. But we have found, like, for local dev environments, it makes things a lot easier and that kind of stuff. And people do want, there are draws of Kubernetes and things. So we're kind of playing about with it. So yeah, I've mainly used it, I guess, for local dev and getting stuff set up.
Nice.
Because trying to spin up SQL Server databases, messaging queue systems, all locally, it's just easy just to get them up and running in a Docker container and not have to worry about it.
Gotcha. But it's refreshing to hear someone say that actually, it's not all necessarily about containers, which it isn't. There's obviously serverless, there's obviously a step in between potentially those options as well, modernizing on VMs or similar, for example.
Yeah.
And different options work for different scenarios.
Yeah, I really like serverless. I think it's got there's a lot that can be gained by doing serverless, because especially if you don't have a lot of software, spinning up a whole like Kubernetes cluster is quite a lot of overhead.
It is.
For what can be a small site.
It really, really is. And the other thing as well, because you mentioned about app service, don't forget that app service also has a containers option, right? So
yes,
if you did want to use containers anywhere, but you still wanted the benefit of app service, you've you've got that option with app service for
Yeah.
containers.
That's something I think people don't necessarily realize. You've kind of got 3 options for containers. Well, 4 if you include hosting it yourself on a VM, but kind of you've got the container instances, you've got hosting them in an app service, and then you've got the full-blown AKS. So
yeah, indeed. And I think something that jumped in my mind as well, and maybe a little bit of a plug now it's been announced, is I'll be speaking at the Welsh Azure User Group at the end of the month about Azure Arc for apps. And that is an awesome scenario, right? Where you could containerize your application, run it on app service for containers in Azure, but then you could have Azure Arc for apps deployed on your on-premises. You could have it deployed on AWS, GCP, wherever, and run that app consistently in app service, scale it from the Azure portal using the app service stuff that you're used to, all just seamlessly, is a really, really powerful offering there, powerful approach.
The only challenge I have with that is that there's still a Kubernetes piece in there.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
And it's still, it's getting better, and people are making efforts to try and solve that problem. But it's still Kubernetes, and it's still a pain.
Yeah, and I guess what it potentially does is separates. I mean, this might get us a bit controversial as a discussion here now, but here we go. It kind of separates the whole dev from the ops thing again. You know, the dev is really focused on developing apps, and the ops is focused on operating the infrastructure again. Whether that's a good thing or not is a different discussion, I think. But it does delineate slightly those responsibilities, because I think sometimes in the Kubernetes world it's a bit muddy.
Yeah, there's still a skill set balance you've got to have on both sides of that fence, I think.
Yeah, indeed. That's why I say it's a controversial, controversial topic. I think I can see the value in it though, because I think the challenge right now from a Kubernetes perspective, or containers in general, is there's no real concept of an application, if that makes sense. Like, it's just a container, which is fine. But from an application developer perspective, you then have a lot more to kind of think about. Is the argument I normally hear about why they want to abstract higher in the stack. So yeah, it's an interesting potential approach.
I know this whole game is about sort of trying to mislead and stuff, but there's a lot of distrust going on in this. Yeah.
Well, I mean, all I'm going to say is I pointed out that white went one way, then went to chase blue the other way, and look who it was.
For it.
I know, and look who it was.
Indeed.
John, you got played.
I didn't believe you. I didn't believe you.
Oh dear. All right, let's kick this one off. Just trying to think what else has been going on. Let me check some of my pieces here. On the Azure DevOps side, there was a good post over the last week, actually. I don't know if any of you guys watch it at all. Jay Gordon does a regular series, Azure Fun Bites, and this one that was announced in the latest in last week, I guess, was with Matt Stratton, and they talk about Plumicorp and what Palumi is. So I guess we're all familiar with Terraform, we're all familiar with ARM and Bicep, but Palumi is this one that's been on my radar now for a couple of years. Curious if anyone's seen it, heard of it, used it.
I've heard of it. I've not used it though.
Same, really. It's one of those that should be right up my alley, as it's C# Terraform, isn't it? Effectively.
Yep.
Yeah, and it works in the same way. So it's interesting that like Terraform and Palumi both use the APIs in order to interact with Azure, and then things like there's like Farmer, which is an F# based one, and that generates you ARM templates, which you then upload. And there seems to be a bit of a kind of a two different ways of doing this. And Bicep in some ways does a similar thing. It generates the
JSON. Yeah. Yeah, indeed. There's almost different schools of thought of how they're working under the covers, isn't it? But no, I think Palumi is a really, really interesting idea. Like you said, Matt, the fact you can get this higher level language representation of your infrastructure. Yeah, if I'm a .NET dev and I'm developing in .NET, well, why not write your infrastructure in .NET as well? Really, really interesting idea.
Yeah, I'm just not sure how I feel about the whole kind of managing state externally and those kind of the same problem I have with Terraform really is I in some ways I really like what Terraform's trying to do, but the state management piece feels a bit too far abstracted away from the platform I'm trying to deploy to.
Yeah, it's a shame that Azure doesn't really kind of provide that information in a better way, maybe, so that it could be stored. Yeah.
Almost a state as a service kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how it would work, but yeah, they all seem to suffer that problem if they're not generating the scripts and kind of letting it all be handled by Azure. Then they have to have this state. And also another thing I'd like to see, I guess, is if you decide that you're going to do everything as infrastructure as code, it'd be great to be able to lock down the portal so that, and you can a little bit with RBAC, but it would be nice to say, look, I'm doing this as infrastructure as code. I want like extra warnings, extra precautions in place if someone does want to manually modify something.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually.
And I think that's the challenge with something like Terraform, isn't it? There's less of a challenge with like ARM templates or Bicep because the state is part of the service, so it's kind of there. But with Terraform, if you change it in the portal and you're using Terraform to deploy your infrastructure, you're potentially in a painful place, which can be challenging.
Yeah, it's either going to undo it, or if it's a completely new resource, it's going to complain about it.
Yeah, indeed, and then trying to fix the state by importing the relevant resources, etc., etc.
And I think the other thing that would be nice to be, and I suspect this is more of an ARM problem, ARM/Bicep problem than it is a Terraform problem, is those things that you can change on services that won't cause it to rebuild completely. If you look at particularly things like API management or even AKS clusters and things like that, is that there are a couple of settings that you can change, and it will effectively tear the whole thing down and rebuild it again.
Yep.
And I'm not sure I want that all the time.
No, not for your production cluster hosting your production workloads. No, that's not going to go so well. I think we're just waiting on you there, Matt.
Oh, I've done it again.
All good. There we go. So Palumi was the one on this week's Azure DevOps Fun Bites. Sorry, Azure Fun Bites, I should say. A good mix of community posts again from the team there as well. So our first portal, leveraging the power of open source to drive continuous code quality, hosting Python packages in Azure DevOps, publishing Azure Static Web Apps with Bicep in Azure DevOps, pausing Synapse dedicated SQL pool with DevOps pipeline, Terraform Azure DevOps pipeline, and adding a what if to an ARM Azure DevOps pipeline. So I guess a lot of those not so typical DevOps stories there, actually. A lot about, well, there was Synapse in there. There was some about Terraform, some about Bicep, the what if functionality in ARM as well. So yeah, it was nice to see quite a variety there, actually.
The what if stuff in ARM is great. It's that step that was missing from Terraform.
Agree. Agreed. Yeah, there's this one about how first ports are leveraging the power of open source as well. And it looks like that one's talking about SonarQube and the like as well, which is always interesting. Yeah. There we go. Multitasking is hard, isn't it?
It really is. And, critical thinking is... All right. Yeah.
And then let me just double check the GitHub blogs. That's the one I didn't have up ready on my screen. Yeah, a bit of a mix of things actually over the last week. Requests for proposals defining standardized GitHub metrics, and that was more not metrics as in like GitHub as a service, but if I'm just kind of scanning through the blog post here, it's like their tech for social good. So usage metrics by country for international development, public policy, that kind of metrics is what they're talking about there. Vague infringement allegations considered harmful, and they talk about some of the work they've been doing in the courts there, and infringement and creativity. GitHub Global Campus, they talk about there as well. Where, yeah, there's this kind of global campus experience for students. Improving Git protocol security on GitHub as well is another one they talk about. They talk about some of the things they're doing there with multi-factor, improving protocols, other things. What else? The GitHub availability report came out. There were 2 incidents in August. And they give the breakdown on what happened and how they fixed those, etc. Release radar, I didn't have a chance to go through that one yet, so I might take a quick glance, see anything notable there. And the MLH Fellowship GitHub externship track as well. So like I say, a bit of a mix there. Not so much engineering focus this week, aside from the availability report and then the improving Git protocol security as well. A lot of policy related stuff. Yeah, good mix.
Chris, can I just say, I'm struggling to play this game while listening to you. So how you're forming, full sentences while reading a blog post and, doing various tasks. I assume you were doing tasks there.
I of course was.
That stunned me. I realized while listening to you, thinking this is quite hard to coordinate. And then you said something about I'm reading through a blog, and I was like, how is someone able to do that?
My brain is struggling. I'll be honest, but just about managed, I think.
You did really well.
Oh, thanks. And yes, it was me, by the way. That's where it was difficult to try and be an imposter while doing that segment was challenging.
Although you didn't have the tasks today.
This is true. There are some good actual releases, by the way, just that they're calling out in this release radar. Just to jump back to that one sec. Grafana 8 is now available. D3.7, I remember using D3, it must have been 10 years at least ago now. So I might jump into that just for nostalgia to see how far it's come. What else have they got? Postal, FS Notes 5, the GitHub CLI 2 as well. That is a big one. Yeah, a good mix of open source project updates. Over.
Does anyone remember when Azure was just like hosting VMs?
Well, funny you say that, because that was not the first thing it was there for.
No, it did web apps first, wasn't it?
It was cloud services.
Cloud services, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
AWS was VMs only, and then Azure was all the cloud service stuff.
Exactly. Approached it from different angles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's more complicated now, isn't it? That was my point.
There is a lot more there now, which is good. You know, choice is always good.
Well, isn't that the thing about ASE v3 in App Service Land? Is that's the release that finally takes it off of cloud services, isn't it?
Oh, is it? Interesting.
I think so. I think under the hood they were always cloud. Certainly the Windows ones were cloud services up until recently, which is why there's going to be there are the scaling improvements in v3 now.
Nice. Because that was a notice that went out, I think, last week potentially. Cloud services, the legacy version of cloud services, has now got a deprecation date.
Yeah.
But the virtual machine scale set one is obviously now going to be the option to move forwards with.
Yeah. And cloud services were great in the day. The problem was it goes back to our conversation earlier about multiple languages.
How do you mean?
Cloud services were great as long as you pretty much wanted to use .NET.
Yeah, it's true, because they are very .NET focused, aren't they? And the configuration model, it's been a while since I've looked at cloud services, but from memory, the configuration model and the definition were very
yeah, it was great if
tight.
you wanted to run WCF services like old school .NET framework WCF services on a scalable compute. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
And like we said earlier, the documentation was very much geared towards that as well.
Yeah, indeed. Right, and then in terms of Cloud with Chris updates over the last week, what's gone on? I put a blog post out on Monday, which was about branch protection rules in GitHub. Great way to go ahead and improve your code quality, prevent rubbish from getting into your production code line, into your main code line there, your production code base. Talking about some of the factors that are available there, and I'm just going to skip because it's on me. Yeah, some of the factors like requiring pull requests, requiring status checks, signed commits and all these things. So I talk a bit about some of the things I normally do in GitHub repos. Wednesday had another cloud gaming notes session, which was the first one in a couple of months, actually. And then had an episode on Friday, which is about leveraging Azure as a telco provider, which was an interesting one. Very, very interesting one. That was my Cloud with Chris stuff this week, actually. What has everyone else been up to?
I went into the office
Oh,
for the first time in like not for one really important meeting. It was like just going into the office because that was the thing that people did these days. And yeah, weird. Very weird.
how was the experience?
It was good. Yeah, it was good to see real people. And as I say, I've just moved jobs, so it was good to see people for the first time that I'd been speaking to for a few weeks.
Meet the new team and everything. Nice.
Yeah. I mean, they weren't all there, but there was, it was good.
Trying to think when I last went into the office. I think it was a couple of weeks ago now. It's been very quiet though, still. Unsurprisingly. I think everyone is still, depending on the organisation they work in, I guess.
So how are people feeling about going back into the office now, in general?
I won't be. Period.
Oh. All remote work.
100%.
Nice.
I will become a hermit and sit and play games and work from the same chair I am now.
Was that a motivation for moving then?
It was partly because I was just fed up with having to drive like into Leeds every day, and you'd end up losing like sometimes 2 hours on an evening. I was like, I could use this time so much more productively if I was working from home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are thinking that.
Agreed.
Yeah, and
But
like
it's
from
the-
conversations I've had with people, they've been working from home, so they've saved on like travel expense, childcare. They're more productive.
Yeah.
For me, they're going back into the office. Like if nobody else is in the office, I kind of go into the office and then I'm on calls with everyone who's at home, and it really did feel like I thought you kind of got to have that critical mass of people in the office to make it really worth it.
Yeah.
I think I actually got a lot out of going into the office rather than just meeting people. I've actually got a lot more done than if I was at home, because I got so used to being at home and just popping downstairs and sort of seeing the kids or doing stuff on downtime. Whereas when I was in the office, it was sort of more concentrated work that ended at sort of 5 o'clock, which isn't something I've become used to over the past sort of year or so.
Also, I think different companies are different as well, because if you're at a company that's set up for remote working, then like onboarding processes and socials and everything are all kind of there, where a lot of companies are kind of thrown into remote working and haven't necessarily, not all of them have kind of picked up those things. So it might be okay for people who've been there a little while, who know people, but for the new people, I think it must be a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens to the job market now. Certainly in the IT sector, because I think all of my customers at the moment are all crying out for people, and I think every IT organization at the moment is crying out for people. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how people are shifting away from those kind of metropolitan centers now.
Yeah.
And actually what that does to kind of salaries across the UK. Because there won't now be that spike you would get as you approach London, in theory.
True.
There's also the question about wages as well, because through the pandemic, I've seen like London-based companies still paying London wages for people to work remotely. And it's a question of, will that continue to happen? Or like they were talking about some of the American companies, you'd get less wage from being remote, or I know it might push all wages up. I don't know.
Yeah, I think wasn't Google talking about paying you based on where you reside rather than
Yeah.
the role, which was a weird kind of choice.
Yeah. But I think part of it in the States, I might be completely wrong here, isn't it to do with the fact that different states have different tax rules as well?
That would make sense.
So there is that level of complexity there. Yeah. But it's a fair point though, right? Because at what point then does that divide not become a divide because it doesn't matter where I work?
Yeah, absolutely.
I saw an interesting thread, well, not just one, I've seen many interesting threads about people resigning and going to new companies, and because their current company wouldn't give them ability to remote work, or they were mandating people go ahead and just work from the office kind of thing. So
yeah,
I reckon we'll see a lot more of that if there are companies that try that.
I mean, it's a tricky one because arguably over the last year, companies have proved or should have proved that they can do this remotely.
Yeah. Indeed.
It's a hard argument to then go to say to people, we don't want you to do that anymore. Because ultimately it comes down to, we want to be able to keep an eye on you, if I'm being very cynical.
Yep. I did see a funny post on, I think it was Twitter, where it was a quote being like, oh yeah, we require everyone to come back to the office because our culture is so important. We want to build that culture from the office. And then there's like a picture of the office where it's like one of those old school grey cubicles where like you know,
Saw that.
boring, nothing scenic there at all. Just, and it was just like, yeah, I can see that. I understand that.
But I wonder what impact it'll have on new people coming into the industry. I think when you've got a more junior person, you can sit next to them, you can work really closely with them, and just occasionally turn around and ask them how they're doing and things. And I wonder if that's as, I've not been through that experience, but I don't know if it is as easy in a remote environment.
Yeah, I think it's definitely an interesting question. I know for like what they've said at Intersect was they're going to like buddy me up with someone, but then like everyone who I've spoken to like this week, granted I've only been there 3 days, they've all been really friendly, really approachable. Like if you've got any questions, just jump on a call.
Yeah.
So although they're like not next to me in person, there is someone at the end of the proverbial telephone.
I'm not really sure what it is though. I think there's something different about sitting in an office and being able to just wander over to someone's desk, compared to having like the amber or green light or red light on their teams. How do you interrupt them if you can see if they're just sat typing on a keyboard or something? I think it's much more, I don't know, much more distant to just say hi in a Teams message. Never say hello. Don't say hello. I get that, but you can say hello and then follow it immediately with a question or something, but never just hello. I understand that.
I love that analogy of just walking up to someone's desk and going, "Hello," literally saying nothing, just waiting for them to respond.
Yeah. It's weird. I think it's more that you walk up to their desk when they're not there and say hello.
Yeah.
And wait for them to reply. Or
they're like on a call, or they're doing whatever.
Yeah.
Just still do it and just wait there. That could be some very funny sketches, couldn't it?
I still like the old one about the Zoom call in real life, where they're all sat around a table and it all just happens.
Oh
exactly
yeah.
Zoom call does. I love that.
I'm with you.
Yeah, that was Fool's Arm and Hog this week on the YouTube.
I didn't catch that. Sorry.
No.
So I was just saying, the Foils Arm and Hog YouTube video channel did that sketch this week.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. I'll get the link and share it at some point.
So in community-related news, Simon and I are obviously running the cloud management community. It's quite hard to concentrate while you talk.
It is, isn't it?
And we're mixing it up from now on. We're moving from the Meetup platform to our own sort of our own thing, using Eventbrite as the back end. But Chris, you helped us out with the GitHub. The GitHub page for that, to get that embedded into that, which is great. So that really helps and means we sort of have a bit more control of things in, how we run meetups, events, not meetups. We're going to call them events from now on because we're not using Meetup. But yeah, it's a bit more control, and at the big risk of losing all the people who are currently following us on Meetup, so it's hard to.
Yeah, let's talk a bit about that, because I saw like the formal announcement go out, I think, from Simon on Twitter. But what made you guys want to switch away from Meetup?
I think there was three main reasons. It was the cost. So we're a free event, and all the costs come out of our whatever sponsorship that we get, and we want the sponsorship money to go towards making the group better. Quiz prizes or merchandise or stuff that really has an impact, not fees for the platform. Wow. So yeah, that was one of them, and then also that just having a bit more control of everything, because we don't really know how to interact with the community yet. We still haven't really got that much information about it yet. But there was 250 people following us on Meetup, and we had between 40 and 80 people attending. So it's hard to know who you're talking to, and so I think trying to get that information and Meetup doesn't actually give you any barriers to entry. Anyone can click I'd like to join and follow, whereas Eventbrite, we're going to try and ask some questions when you register to say, is this your first event, what are you thinking, all that kind of stuff, to make sure it's a human, and also to make sure it's someone who actually does want to join and is more likely to take part. And it's not to keep people out, it's just to make sure we're
being thoughtful about it.
Getting the best out of the time that we're spending on this. So yeah, it was the money and the control. And also we're thinking about following the Welsh Azure user group and doing hybrid events. And Eventbrite has multiple ticket types. So you saw what Johnny Chips had to do when he was sort of trying to figure out who was coming to the event in person and who was going to try and join remotely. He had to ask for that feedback on a form. Whereas with Eventbrite, you can say, I'm going to join in person, I'd like that ticket, or I'm going to join remotely, I'd like that ticket. And that, I think, would be much more powerful and better user experience.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I was also going to cite the Welsh Azure user group as a great example of how things are working there. Because I think we're struggling with that same thing that you just mentioned there, Dean, about you have so many people on the meetup group but not quite sure who the audience is and who the real engaged people are. Trying to build that understanding up.
It's like a black box, really, from my perspective. It's like you've got a load of fans who are in a black box, and you can talk to them, but only via a specific window that Meetup provide, and it's a plain text email. That's it, and you've got no information about them. You've got their names, but no contact details, nothing else. So it's really, and I think continuing to build our brand and our community in that fixed ecosystem, just because that was the easy thing to do, I think was the wrong thing to do. So we have made the really tough decision to move off that platform.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's it'll be interesting to have a chat, in a few months down the line and see your thoughts on it when you've had a bit of chance to switch across and properly get lay of the land.
Yeah, I'm interested to know how you get on.
Yeah, it'll be good to see how these.
Go on.
I was just going to say, it'll be interesting to see how these hybrid events kind of work out, and as groups return in person, and kind of how it all kind of works out. Because I think a lot of groups are, I remember a couple of dev groups as well, and there's similar problems. It's like, do you have it in person, or some people still aren't sure, and you've actually gained people now from across the world because you can be online. You don't want to lose those people.
That's the big dilemma we've got for the Welsh group and our first meetup in September is we just don't know. We just don't know what the audience is going to be like in person. We don't know how many people are going to be still online for the hybrid virtual part of it. So like any insights you can get we'll be more than interested in.
Well, you guys are running the first event, so the first hybrid event. So
it's going to be an interesting retrospective at the end of it. I'm pretty sure either way.
Indeed, yeah. Well, I'm coming along in physical.
Excellent.
In physical form. So I'll see you there, perhaps.
So I'll see three of us then. That'll be Matt,
Indeed.
Dean, me,
Indeed. Johnny Chips,
Mr. Chips, of course. Yes.
Getting the band back together.
Wow.
The rest of the organising team are going to be there as well. So
nice.
This might sound like a silly question, but where is the Welsh user group in person? Is that in South Wales or
in Cardiff? Yeah.
Cardiff, yeah.
I really wanted to say Scotland.
I think it was a stupid question. But...
Although joking aside, actually, you listen to our the chats on the virtual meetups, and actually we've got a lot of people from Scotland that are coming visiting that are turning up for those events, which was the big concern.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly the challenge is the virtual way has really got rid of the barriers.
Yeah.
And meant that anyone can attend anywhere, which is great, which is why we want to carry on doing hybrid as well. But then who is that audience? Like you were saying earlier. It's challenging, isn't it?
Actually,
The
hybrid
other,
own challenges as well. So the whole idea of and Johnny Chips won't mind me saying this, but he's going to be bringing along a whole load of kits to set up to be able to stream that out.
Yeah,
and it's a technical challenge in its own right.
Yeah, it's not trivial. Not trivial.
you can also get people like presenters from a wider field. It's not just the attendees, isn't it? So the groups that I've been to have had speakers from America and other parts of the world as well, which we just wouldn't have got.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Well, not for free. Certainly not if you
Indeed.
invite them, and you'd have to pay a ton of money for them to get them there.
Unless they happen to already be here or something. But yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah, that's exactly it. What else have we got going community-wise? So I guess we've got Welsh Azure user group on the 28th, I think? 29th.
29th. Yeah. Oh, now you got me doubting it as well. 29th, I think.
I knew it's one of those 2 days.
Yeah, 29th.
There we go.
I was right.
Oh, I know why I said 28th, because the Azure Thames Valley is the 28th. We've got lightning talks the evening before.
That's one of the things I'm really pleased we did for Welsh Azure User Group with the lightning talks. I think they give you an interesting variety, and it lowers the barrier of entry for people to come and speak.
Indeed. And actually, so the first load that we've got a load of pretty much people who've spoken in the community. For the event we've got after that, we're going to do a lightning talk and then like a main slot kind of thing. We've got someone who hasn't done much talking in the community.
Right.
So we're going to give them a bit of an opportunity to learn, train, grow, and try that out as well, which I think is exactly what we should be doing in these communities as well.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah.
The challenge actually is keeping people within the 15 minutes.
Yes.
10 minutes.
Indeed. Yeah, that's where I'm working with someone already, coaching them a bit on what their topic is, what is it they're really trying to get across, and what are their main objectives and everything. And I think that's where we can help from these community side as well, as giving people those opportunities to grow and learn.
Definitely.
The lightning talks.
Go ahead, John.
Sorry, I said the lightning talks are a really good opportunity for that as well, because a 15-minute slot isn't that intimidating, and it's a good way of kind of getting into it. And in some ways, the 15 minutes is harder than a longer talk because you've actually got to condense everything down. But from a kind of coming in from not having done talks before, it's less daunting, I think, doing a 15-minute talk.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed. So we've got those two towards the end of the month. Have we got anything going on beforehand?
We've got the cloud management one on the 14th, but that is all remote. But it's YouTube Live. Actually, that's the other thing we're changing at the same time. So we're moving from Teams as a standard sort of. When we started this, it was we just did the same thing as everyone else, then after a little while thought, why did we do all that?
Yeah.
Why are we using Teams? Why are we using Meet? All those questions. We're going to YouTube Live and Twitter and Twitch and potentially LinkedIn as well.
I guess
using the same platform that John was using for his.
Oh, you're using Restream. Yeah. I used to use Restream a while ago. The thing I found challenging. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, mate. Go on.
No, go on.
I was just going to say, jumping in quickly, the thing I found challenging with it was just having so many different platforms to keep up with. And that's the thing I didn't quite nail down. But with one of the series I'm going to do, probably starting October, a new series on the channel, I'm probably going to try Restream again. Yeah.
Are you, do you use the free version?
I think I did originally, and then I was going to pay because I wanted them to record the streams if I forgot to record. Oh, I just got kicked out.
Disconnected.
I think we may all.
So did I.
Oh, there we
Send
go.
6 pings, no response.
Yeah, I got that too.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, let's create a new game. I'll post into the chat.
I've completely forgotten what you just said, Chris.
Talking about Restream and free version and free version.
Yeah, so I found that the quality on the free version was 720p, and when we were sharing screens over that, it was really bad.
It was dire.
And actually, we spent we spent a bit of money on the paid version, and that did help, obviously, because it was 1080p. But speaking to someone who is actually technically minded rather than an oaf like myself, I think it might have been the fact that we were downscaling from a 1080 screen to the 720 for the stream. So perhaps it could have been better.
Gotcha.
On the 720, because a 720 screen running at 720 should be fine, shouldn't it? Theoretically.
Yeah.
But I didn't think of that, so yeah, we didn't. Yeah, we've paid a lot of money for the full version.
But it means we get 1080p quality, so.
Oh, yeah.
And we're also, we're moving to 2 sessions a month, aren't we, Dean?
Ah, yes, good point. Yeah. We found that the monthly thing, we were just sort of going quiet for 3 weeks of the month, and that's not ideal when you're trying to grow an audience and grow a community. So
yeah, and how are you finding that? Because I guess twice a month is very frequent, in a good way. I mean, I make that sound like a bad thing, but it's a lot of content to try and organize with getting speakers and that type of thing.
It was, but what we found was that the sessions that we were having, which they weren't overrunning, but there was a lot in them, and it ended up taking most of the evening, I think, wasn't it, Dean? Which is why we were thinking of having slightly shorter, more frequent meetups.
Yeah, so we're doing 1 speaker rather than 2, and doing it every 2 weeks. So it's the number of speakers we get won't be the problem. It's just finding an hour or an hour and a half twice a month rather than once a month is the only thing that's gonna be tough.
Yeah, with you. And YouTube Live, you mentioned, is there like the ability for attendees to chat with each other as well, or is it? Oh, I guess actually anyone can see the chat, can't they? Yeah, true. I'm with you.
Yeah.
It's out in the open.
We did. Yeah, we did. Because with Restream you can have 10 guests on video, and obviously we've got 4 people who run the group, and potentially up to 2 speakers. So that's sort of 4 left. So we have opened it up.
Interesting.
To a few other people to join. We made it available for everyone to join, and we've got 4 people signed up. I'm not entirely sure how that's going to work and whether it'll ruin the quality. And that's one of the other things I wanted to try was having a full 10 people join the stream and do a live for just 5 minutes and see if the quality gets worse as you add more people to it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, it's a really interesting as an idea, because the thing I love about that is something I've talked about on the channel before, this idea of learning in the open. And with that meetup group, you are really bringing it out in the open there as well. Yeah. It'll be interesting to learn from that.
Yeah, I'm interested in learning.
Yeah. And sorry, Matt, you fell for my trap.
What trap was that? Go on, give us some secrets.
So, obviously working way through killing people, blah, blah, blah. You get voted off, all fine. But then at the end, I figured, right, there's 3 of us. I can do the reactor. There's got to be 2 people to do the reactor. So if I'm the first one in the reactor room and call it, someone's got to run in and I can just kill there rather than try and chase someone down and get caught. That was my grand scheme there.
And I walked right into it.
You literally did, yeah.
You ran, actually, technically, you ran.
This is
Right.
true. Technically run. Just trying to think what else is coming up community-wise. I think we've mentioned about the South Coast Summit coming up a little while away. Which isn't really that far away, is it? It's, what,
No, it's
15th of
not.
October? So,
Yep.
5-6 weeks? I saw that the Scottish Summit got announced for 2022 as well. In February.
They rolled out the call for speak, I think.
Indeed, yeah. Until end of October or mid-October, I think the call for speakers is. Just trying to think what else is coming up, actually. Anyone in the chat, feel free to shout out anything that you may be working on as well. I think this is the great thing, is there's so much great community stuff out there right now.
Yeah.
Spoiled for
Too much
choice.
is spoiled. I was about to say that, yeah.
Yeah.
Too many options. Not enough hours in the day.
That's the thing, especially with all the online content, and it's great that you can go to all these user groups that are all over the place. But yeah, it's trying to fit them all in, trying to pick which ones.
I don't know about you, but for me, the thing that I miss are those conversations after talks with like a speaker or with other attendees, just having that time to chat.
Yeah.
That's the thing I really miss that doesn't quite work well on YouTube Live or Teams or whatever, because you can't just have that natural one-on-one or small group discussion. It's kind of everyone together, isn't it?
Well,
Yeah, it's that kind of like kind of just meeting people in the corridors and things, going, oh, what did you get out of that talk, or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it would work less. It will work less well on YouTube Live than it would on Teams, because on Teams everyone literally has a voice. Unless it's Teams Live, everyone can press unmute and speak and get involved and stuff. And I'm worried that might have an impact on how people feel they are. They're connected. Because I once joined one of my first meetups that I joined was running on YouTube on Teams live events, and I felt distant. I felt like I wasn't included because I couldn't put my camera on, I couldn't speak, and I wanted to be engaged.
But isn't that the Scott Hanselman line where he talks about I want you to be interactive because otherwise you might as well just be watching a video.
Yep.
Like you need to have that level of discussion, the interaction to actually make it unique.
That is still my claim to fame. Having to do a session following Scott Hanselman. Which is both fun and nerve-wracking all at once. But you're right, Matt. He said that exact line of, I want you to be engaged. Otherwise, you could have just all watched this on a video. Which is completely fair.
And some do.
Yeah, especially given the fact he now does all of his videos. Which are brilliant, by the way.
Yeah.
on content actually while we're talking about that for a moment. I was writing a blog post earlier where I'm preparing, and I think I've mentioned it in passing, but maybe I'll talk about it in a bit more depth now. One of the pieces of, or new series I'm working on is essentially like a live stream of building stuff. So whether it's developing, whether it's building an app or building a solution or whatever, I'm yet to figure out the finer details. Going to be doing a live stream of that. So I've got a blog post coming out tomorrow where I talk about some of the issues I fixed on my WSL environment, which will be a fun one. But yeah, that'll be a stream I start off in October. So if anyone wants to build anything, shout.
What's the format?
Literally, jump onto a stream and carry on making something. That is the format. Going to be very informal and just...
Who's doing the making?
Me/others if anyone wants to join. Like, the type of thing I'm thinking is, and where it stemmed from was when I talked with Carl about my integration platform I was building, it got so much traction and people loved it. And I was thinking, actually, maybe doing a bit of a build with and just showing thought process and things and learning out in the open that way is a nice way of doing it. So that's the intent.
Yeah, sure.
It might fall flat on its face, but we will see.
Is that what you were testing the green screen for the other day then?
That is indeed exactly what I was testing it for. And I just got played by John.
One up me.
Yeah.
For your backgrounds.
Yes, that's something we can share of our internal fun. So Matt and I have some calls with our wider team, and we've been doing a bit of one-upping of our OBS setup on our Teams calls. So we've got a bit of a game now, which is good fun.
Which did get me thinking, actually. I've been mulling over whether or not you could do some kind of almost Connect style interaction with the background.
Connect style. How do you mean?
As in, you have an animated background that as you move your head, it interacts with what's happening behind the screen.
Oh, that's
That
interesting.
sounds really cool.
It does, but I don't know how you do it. I started thinking about it and thought, well, it's going to be multiple cameras. It's going to be probably some Unity or something like that to drive one of the streams.
You'd need a video that reacts to the input.
Yep.
Which is basically a game.
Absolutely. This is where I went with Unity.
There is a YouTuber that, a tech person that does do that. I can't remember the name of the person there. But they've got a whole setup like that.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting challenge. It started as kind of a, well, how can I one up Chris further?
Yeah.
Then evolved into how would this actually work? What are the moving parts? So there you go, Chris. If you want one for your stream, add another layer of complexity to it.
I'm going to say nothing. I'm not going to commit yet. But apart from that's a great idea. Because that sounds really hard.
No, I think that was where I got to as well.
Have either of you done the thing where you have a video of yourself handing yourself a cup of tea?
No. Oh, but I've seen people do that though. Yeah.
I got involved a while ago with the Inception background videos, where you take a video or you take a photo of your team's background, and then somebody else uses that photo as their team's background, and then you end up with a stacked line of people all the way back to the original source.
Nice.
I have not seen
that.
Well,
that was another thing I saw on Teams this week. The reporter background, not the reporter sharing thing, which was new for me.
What's that one? No.
So when you share your screen,
now
you have options for this where your camera's placed and stuff. So you can have a reporter one, where it puts you in a screen next to the screen. Azure News Updates, Johnny Chip style.
Yeah.
Or the picture-in-picture one where you sort of stand inside the screen. And I that was the first week that's been available on me, so that was good.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know what you're on about now. Exactly. Yeah. Nice. Shall we call maybe 1 or 2 more rounds and then call it an evening?
Yeah.
How does that sound?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
So I guess then, as we start thinking about wrapping up, we'll do 1 more round after this. What's coming up this week? Any highlights for anyone? For the next few weeks? Trying to think what I've got. More office trips, I guess, for Dean.
Not for a few weeks. No, I'm probably going to give it a little while because my office is 400 miles away. So.
Oh wow, that is a drive.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm lucky that Thames Valley Park, where Microsoft's office is about a 10-minute drive away from me. So I am fortunate.
Nice.
But I still work from home a lot of the time. Mainly on the basis that people still aren't going in yet, to be honest. Or are based across the country anyway, as you say. I was leaving it a bit close there. Now, okay, let's do this one off mute. We haven't done one off mute for a while. Let's actually talk this one through.
So I was running with you and I didn't see a body. Where was that?
I was running into navigation and I didn't see a body either.
Well, that's bizarre because you were both half a second behind me, and I saw the body just fine in weapons, and both of you went down.
Yeah, we went. I was following Matt. I think. Yeah, I was following. No, I was following Matt.
Where were you both throughout this round?
I was bottom left when the oxygen went, because I ran to electrical to fix the lights, and then they were all done.
And Matt?
I was fixing the oxygen.
Which one?
I tried to get to both. But I saw you coming out of the second one.
Yeah, that's when I arrived, and then we all 3 ran together.
Well, that's disappointing.
Ah. Talk about getting played. The only reason I went for you, Matt, is I was thinking, okay, you were in the rough area then. So, incriminated. Shame. Right, last round then, and then we'll call it an evening, guys.
It's been good.
Yeah, it's been good fun. I can see we've got Mr. Chips with us on the stream as well. Good evening. And of course Dan, who's been with us there for a while as well. Hello.
The only problem is I can't join in the chat on the stream or see who's there.
Oh, because
Because I'm not allowed.
then you would be cheating. True.
You could pop the chat window out from the stream.
That's true.
Good shout.
And then watch the stream on another monitor and the chat.
Yeah.
important,
Sorry,
the important question of the evening, if Johnny Chips is still listening and with us, is he was eating a pizza. What pizza was it? And hopefully it didn't have pineapple.
What's wrong with pineapple? Come on.
That is a debate. I used to love pineapple pizza.
I love
Like Hawaiian pizza, whatever it's
Just pineapple.
Just pineapple as a pizza, yeah.
pineapple on its own.
So I found the link for you for using Unity with OBS to create like these virtual rooms that you can interact with. Put it in the chat. It's really cool.
Okay.
That does sound
And
really cool.
Yeah, the person I've seen use it, I think, is Layla Codes or something like that on Twitch. And,
Yeah.
she does amazing things with it, and say like has as people like comment and things, it appears in the background. But there's a blog post about how it's done, which I've shared with you.
Ooh.
So I have to interrupt because Johnny Chips has responded going, "Oh, go on, guess. You will never guess." So that makes me think really something really abstract. I'm gonna go with something like a vegan arrabbiata pizza because that's something I've had and it was actually really, really, really tasty.
You've clearly never met John Lunn.
Just say it's a meat.
Oh dear. Did I set up a pun there?
No, I'm just saying, never. I can't imagine John eating a vegan arrabbiata pizza, no matter no matter how lovely it is.
Okay, so Dan is in the camp of Hawaiian is awesome. Dan, I'm not sure if we can talk anymore. Sorry. My belief on pineapple on pizza is quite strong here. I am, of course, in jest all on this. Right, okay, folks.
Is it something that pineapple has done to you just before you...
Oh, no, I'm just not a fan of pineapple, full stop.
Fair enough. No worries.
But I have been told incorrect. We all have one guess, apparently, so over to yourselves.
I'm going to go with Meat Feast.
Spicy meat. That's just me about saying random words now.
I'll go barbecue.
Oh. This is making me hungry now.
That's the thing with working at home. There's so much more food options here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, disappointing.
Dean and Matt are incorrect, which leaves John. You've got a choice. A plain cheese pizza.
Really?
That reaction from you, Simon. In fairness, Dan's also reacting the same way.
Needs some pineapple on it.
He did have a stuffed crust. Okay, there we go.
More cheese.
This is quite the bombshell to be ending the stream on, isn't it? I feel like we've built up to this very moment here.
The level of distrust here is...
It's excellent, isn't it? And I'm sorry, but once again, I did multitask very well.
Holy. Holy.
But
No way.
there we go.
No way.
Yes way. Yes way.
Well done. Sorry, Dean.
Yes, I'm sad to say I misled you. But that is indeed the game, so it's been fun. The next one that we'll be doing, let me just double check, I think will be the 3rd of October, if I remember rightly. Let me double check.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yes, the 3rd of October. So, of course, everyone is welcome to join again. And anyone who's been listening in or involved in the chat, of course, you'll be welcome to join as well. And anyone else who you know, friends, whoever, want to come along and join and play, too. It'll be some fun. So thank you everyone for wow, words. That was the final line. And I screw it up. That's good. Let's start again. Thank you everyone for joining. Really appreciate it. Good fun as always. Good conversation. And hopefully I'll see you next month. And of course, see some of you in person before as well. Looking forward to that.
Woo.
Thanks, Chris.
Awesome. Thanks, folks.
Cheers, Chris.
Thank you.
So there we go, folks. We have been playing Among Us, trying really hard to multitask and keep everything going. You know the deal. If you've liked this format, please subscribe, let us know, because then we can do more of this. And of course, if you want to join, please do reach out to any of us. We can get you invited onto the Discord server, and then of course the next one will be on the 3rd of October. We will be doing another one then. But as always, more content coming out very soon. And otherwise, stay safe, stay healthy. And until the next session, thanks for tuning in. Bye for now.